Dealing with manipulative people. I've been there with personal friendships, with relationships, family relationships, across the board, work relationships, and most likely you've dealt with it too. Manipulation simply is the harmful or negative influence over others. Dealing with manipulators is a skill in itself. I can tell you from personal experiences, there's only 3 ways to deal with manipulative people. The first way is the blind way, and that is the way you don't want to deal with it. And that's not knowing that you're being manipulated. Not knowing that you're being manipulated. Simply being blind. And most of the time this happens when you're dealing with a master manipulator who's able to manipulate not only your relationship with them, but other people's relationships with them and you indirectly. So in the circle of relationships. Now there are certain types of people that are manipulators, but I'm going to touch on that in another video. But the second way to dealing with manipulators is quote unquote learning their game and dealing with them. And what I mean by that simply is let them do what they do, but may their influence not affect you. In other words, if you have a manipulative friend, family member, and you've come to the realization and you've learned their game on how they manipulate you, most of the time through emotion, then what you simply do is you show no emotion back to them. Right? If they say something that's blatantly said to trigger you, to get some kind of reaction, you simply just don't react, or you ignore that attempted trigger. And you can still be friends with someone who's manipulative or a manipulator. Just know that it's not going to be the same friendship that maybe you thought you had. Because when you have a friendship with a manipulator, chances are someone has to have the better benefit. And that can be emotional, that could be emotional, that could be image, that can be actual taking advantage of you in any shape, way, or form, physically, financially, emotionally. Most of the time it's emotion. But if you don't react to what they're trying to do to you, then yeah, it's going to tick them off. Yeah, they may say something else, or they may try 2, 3, 4 times to say something to get you triggered and try to create a manipulative scenario, right? Try to get you mad and then twist it against you. That way you feel bad, and then you do what they wanted you to do in the first place, and they win. They get what they want. The third way, just cut them off. That's it. No reactions, no reach outs. If they reach out, it is what it is. You just cut them off. Because if you don't cut them off, then that window and opportunity for continued manipulation is open. Now, dealing with manipulators across different types of relationships is a whole different ballgame. So dealing with a manipulative friend is totally different than dealing with a manipulative spouse, girlfriend. It's just totally different. And that's because the relationships are weighed differently. So your friendships are weighed differently than your love relationships, right? Now let's say the worst type of person that you can get into a relationship with A serious relationship is a master manipulator. The worst part about it is you won't know that you're in a relationship with a master manipulator until you learn their game. You can get all the evidence in the world. All the people in the world can come to you and say, you're dealing with a manipulator. You're dealing with trouble. Don't deal with it. And you're not going to listen. You know why? Because that person is such a master manipulator that they're still able to indirectly influence your relationships with those folks and twist certain details and things to make it seem like they're not a manipulator. And I'll tell you what, if you go through that, if you're going through that now, the whole reason maybe you clicked on this video, the moment you realize that you're dealing with a master manipulator is the day you'll never think of them the same ever again. You'll see all the red flags. You'll go back to times. You'll start rewinding in your mind. How did I miss that? How did I miss that? And you'll start connecting the dots. You'll be like, wait, I talked to this person and wow, they manipulated that whole friendship that indirectly influenced me and our relationship, right? Again, a manipulator is someone who has harmful influence over others. Now, that doesn't mean that their influence over someone harms them blatantly, but they have influence over others in a harmful manner. So they're able to pretty much lie, deceit, there's no honesty. They're able to pretty much create a sandbox environment. That whole saying of the world is yours, the world is theirs. Yeah, the world is theirs, essentially. In their head, while everybody's manipulated, the world is theirs. Until there's a slip up. And as soon as there's a slip up, oh boy. There's two things that are going to happen if there's a slip up. Three things. They cover their tracks real quick and patch something up and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. Da-da-da-da. I was just kidding, babe. Da-da-da-da. Or they'll mention something from a previous relationship. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I brought that up. Sorry. Second, they'll gaslight you. Like, I didn't say that. You're crazy. Da-da-da-da. They straight up gaslight you. And third, they take the situation, they twist the situation even more, and they flip it back on you. That shit's crazy. Some of these master manipulators are next level. And that's how some of them get ahead. And it sucks to say it, but some of the most successful people that you'll meet, a handful of them are manipulators. They know how to play the world. They know how to play the game of the sandbox to make it completely in their favor. It's crazy. It is crazy. So that's when you're dealing with a relationship, a master manipulator in a relationship. In a friendship, I've had a handful of friendships where, there was a master manipulator, but the thing is, in my experience, friendships, like, yeah, they manipulate you to do this and that, but, they talk shit behind your back. But at the end of the day, they know that you're a pretty good person, genuine person, and I don't know, it's a different dynamic than in a relationship in my experience. But once you learn how manipulators work, once you learn the game of the master manipulator, it's going to be tough for others to influence you. And I'm saying this as a person who actually, it's hard to influence me, and it always has been hard to influence me. I wasn't the kid that kind of fell under peer pressure. I hung out with a lot of people that did a lot of dumb shit, and I just never did the dumb shit that they did, but I still hung out with them because, they were cool, genuine people. And when you're a kid, teenager in college, you want to have fun, and you just kind of deal with people's stupidity and attempted manipulation. I ran into a lot of manipulation with some very close people in my life, some of which were a handful of relationships. And it's the blinding, right? It's the effect. It's the being blinded by love that will mask a manipulator for quite some time. And to be honest, you'll feel it in your gut, but you're like, who am I to question this? This person's, pretty good. They're love bombing me. Yeah, this is a hiccup, or yeah, this is something I've noticed a few times, but you know what? I'm tripping. Don't disregard that shit. If you feel something in your gut about someone in a relationship or a friendship and it's not good, you bring that shit up and you hash it out right away. There's no hiding behind it, because here's what's gonna happen. Let's say you have a girlfriend. Let's say she said she's going out with her friends. And you look at her story and there's a bunch of dudes, right, in the background and whatnot. And in the beginning of the night, maybe you kind of felt something wrong in your stomach. You're like, no, I'm good. Just bring it up. What'd you do tonight? Who'd you hang out with? And you don't really have to dig. And just see how they react. See how they answer. If they answer all real quick, that's kind of a red flag. If they take too much time to answer because they may be thrown off that you're asking such things, that might be a red flag. If it's in the middle, it's most likely just your gut was wrong. But I will tell you this. Most of the time, your gut isn't going to be wrong. You just don't want to take the extra steps to find out if you're wrong or not. Bring it up. When you're dealing with manipulators, you call them on their bullshit right away. And guess what? If the relationship falls apart because they say, oh, you're da-da-da-da-da, oh, you got trust issues, or, oh, who are you? Oh, this isn't who you are. You know you're dealing with a master manipulator. You know you're dealing with a manipulator. If they cannot take any criticism that you give them, if they cannot accept you saying no, if they can't accept you standing up for yourself, if they can't accept the fact that they cannot influence you, and you see it in them, you see it in their eyes, you see it in their emotion and their energy, you see that they're frustrated, dealing with a manipulator, and you got three choices. Keep being blind and ignoring it and getting manipulated. Deal with it by standing up for yourself and telling them, like, yo, cut the bullshit. I'm not here for bullshit. Let's have fun. Let's do this or that. And if the relationship keeps going, if the friendship keeps going, so be it. You stood up for your ground. 3, cut it. I say it like it's easy. Trust me, I know it's not. But cut it. Because emotionally, they're going to try to play you. Emotionally, they're playing on your emotions. They're coming into the game on steroids, knowing that they can knock you. And that's not fair. And that's what manipulators do. They indirectly and directly have harmful influence over others to an unfair advantage. They're playing the game to an unfair advantage. That's one thing I personally cannot stand, is cheating. In any manner. School, relationships, friendships. Don't fucking cheat. Sports, don't cheat. If you're not better than your opponent, then you're not better. Then get better. I could go on and on. I'm going to have to make a part 2 on dealing with manipulative people. I didn't realize that I could go into such depth between friendships and relationships. And this isn't advice on dating or anything. This is just advice on dealing with manipulative people. You are your own person. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. If your gut's telling you not to, then don't do it. Your joy, your emotion is not there to fill someone else's joy and happiness jar, cup, whatever you want to call it. Find some good people. Make some good relationships. Business partnerships. And keep it trucking. Master manipulators are out there, and you'll deal with them. To be frank, you'll always be dealing with them. But it's a matter of if you're going to be blind and just used, or you're going to stand your ground and stand up for yourself. We'll get to part 2 eventually. But until then, stay strong. You got this.